The bite of 87, if you don't know, is the event in which a human, most likely to be Jeremy Fitzgerald from the games, was bitten by an animatronic. The animatronic would bite through the frontal lobe of the head, making it a very fatal incident. Jeremy, however, would live in the games after the incident as told from Phone Guy in FNAF 1. This incident happened twice during the games. Another incident happened during the year 1983 where a child would be thrown into the jaw of Fredbear. The cries of the child would activate the snapping locks of the Springlock animatronic suit, which clamped the mouth shut, and this would be later known as the bite of 83. So now that we know what happened during the events of the games, now we should ask the question, if this is really survivable. We know that for both of the bites, the victims would survive the initial impact of the bite. This information does hold up true in real life. A human being could survive without the frontal lobe. However, the consequences of complete removal of this section of the brain is devastating. This would result in the person having extreme paralysis and render the person brain dead. This section of the brain is responsible for the majority of your cognitive abilities and motor controls. This next segment of information is from MatPats' video about the bite of 87, so I will leave that video link in the description. Essentially, the bite force of Fredbear in this case would amount to a staggering 14,758 newtons, which is more than enough force needed to make the bite of 87 deadly. This bite force is equivalent to 1,504 kilos or 3,317 pounds. The events of the first bite were done with a Springlock suit, so the pressure may vary, but this raises a question. How would the suit activate, and does this give us time to better prepare ourselves for the bite? Well, with a Springlock suit, the locks themselves can release if enough pressure is dealt to them. Another thing to keep in mind, if any liquids do go onto the suit, the spring locks may also activate. In this specific scenario, a Springlock bite may be preventable. If we attempt to remain calm and try to restrain ourselves from stressing out, it is highly possible to simply move out of the way of the bite. If we do begin to panic and begin to sweat, the cogs of the Springlock will slowly unwind until eventually the jaw of the animatronic will snap shut. If the impact does happen in showtime mode, which is essentially when a human isn't in the suit and the animatronic is controlling itself, the impact will cause similar damages to a fully endo suit. To put it lightly, your odds of survival depends on the animatronic which does the bite. The sizes of the animatronic's mouth could also impact the pressure of the bite. So as you can imagine, larger animatronics may cause slightly or in some cases a lot more damage. A good way of describing this is comparing Freddy and Foxy. Although both animatronics could be fatal if they bite, Freddy is a much larger animatronic, thus his bite force could be deadlier. With a fully endo suit, if you are caught in the mouth of the animatronic, the consequences are devastating. Your head will be crushed, and the bite will instantly cause you to black out. During the first game, Phone Guy does mention,
"It's amazing that the human body can live without the frontal lobe."
This means that the human does live after a bite. However, the damage it would cause to the cognitive abilities of the person would be extreme. So the question is, could you survive the bite? This isn't really a yes or no question. It kinda depends on the circumstances the bite takes place in. A key factor in deciding this is, are you in a crowded area, or are you a night guard performing animatronic maintenance? If you are alone and the bite happens, well, you're not gonna survive. However, if people are around you, hospitals can be contacted and your odds of survival are a lot better. You would be in a very lucid state after the bite, and with the severe impact you have received, odds of survival are slim. You would be immediately rushed to the hospital, and the trip there would be crucial for your survivability. The clock will be ticking as the amount of blood loss will be very deadly. If the wound isn't immediately compressed, the person may not make the trip to the hospital. Once there, you would need an immediate brain surgery. The surgeons would need to cover the wound and attempt to salvage what remains of your frontal lobe. If even the slightest mistake occurs during this whole procedure, your chances of survival are close to zero. So, could you survive the bite of 87? Well, it kinda comes down to certain circumstances, like where it takes place in, does the surgery go well, and which animatronic was responsible for the bite. Could you actually survive the Five Nights at Freddy's games? That is a good video. You should definitely watch that next if you haven't already. Anyways, until next time, take it easy and goodbye.